Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to discuss your curriculum and everything that you do in the homeschooling world. If you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, so my name is Karri Iverson. I am married. We've been married for over 40 years, and we have five kids that we homeschooled all the way through. And I've taught science for most of those years. So I started teaching science at somebody's kitchen table, and then the group just got bigger and bigger. We eventually had a co-op that had, over 150 students in lots of different classes. And so science is something that's always interested in me in my adult life.
Great. So were you not into it as much when you were younger, or did that kind of take off when you were a homeschool mom?
Yeah, no, I did. It took off when I was a homeschool mom, and I'll tell you why. Like, as a child, it was interesting because my dad would always play these. I grew up in a Christian home, and my dad would play these radio program bits. Somebody named Uncle Bob from Moody Bible Institute, and
Okay.
he would do all these interviews for different animals, and he'd talk about the creation and how those
Oh,
kind of
I love
things
that.
couldn't just happen. I loved
hmm
it. So I started out loving science, and then when I got to like middle school, I thought, you know what, science is not for me because I heard over and over that you could not be a creationist and be a scientist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like put it up on a shelf and I thought, okay, I'll probably never go into science. Now, then when I got into college, I had a very interesting biology course. And I don't know if the guy was a Christian or not, but the professor really emphasized how much order there was to everything in the biological kingdom. And that kind of renewed my interest in science.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's really important to have Christians in the science realm.
I do
Um,
too.
and especially now more than ever, and then having a curriculum like you do, parents can feel supported and also they can teach their children their values through your curriculum. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because science and faith do not contradict, they
Mm,
actually explain each other.
yes, yes, I love that. So then, and if you see me looking down, just looking at my notes, or
No
taking
problem.
notes. So what inspired you to create the Mystery of Science?
Yeah, so the mystery of science. So I was working managing teachers for an online academy through Bright Ideas Press, and
Okay.
they knew about my science background, and they approached me to do the biology curriculum. And so that was fascinating to me. I said yes, of course, and then it just kind of led to more and more. So we have this is for a curriculum for fourth through eighth grade. And we have
Okay.
biology, we have physics, and we have chemistry. And then we have
Great.
plans to do five more. So,
Great. Can
yeah.
you tell us a little bit more about what those five more will be, or can you not share maybe yet?
No, no, I absolutely can. So,
Yeah.
earth science and astronomy are now in
Oh,
the editing phases.
love it.
Then we're going to go to forensic science,
Oh,
nutrition and
goodness.
anatomy. I know, right? And
Awesome.
maybe marine biology and botany.
Great. Yeah. Forensic science is something I've always really found interesting. I haven't studied a whole lot of it, but I do find that area interesting. And I feel like there's not a lot of Christian options for that. So that's
Right.
great. That's
Yeah, and my
great.
husband has been a police officer and then a detective for his whole career.
Ah,
So I'm
awesome.
fascinated by all of that.
Yeah, that's great. So then does he help you with your curriculum work?
Well, he hasn't yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to enlist him to help me a little bit with the forensic side.
That's great. He can volunteer his time, right?
That's right. That's right. He's
I
always
love
very
that.
supportive, so I'm sure he won't mind answering questions.
Good, good. So then how does the curriculum emphasize Christian values?
Yeah, so all the way through,
Mm,
we emphasize that there's a creator. We talk about the importance of having a worldview and how everybody has a worldview, even if you don't think you have a worldview, you do.
hmm
And then I also wanted to put in some different parts of the curriculum that would point back to the creator. So in every lesson, we have a creation corner, which is very similar to that. It's like a callback to my childhood with Uncle Bob, but it's like an animal or an aspect of creation that couldn't have happened by chance and points to a creator.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. And then, if a homeschool family wants to use your curriculum, what does an average lesson look like? And then do you also support children who might struggle more with science? Because I definitely struggle with science, so I'm curious if, you have a little bit of like a support system for kids who might struggle.
Oh, that's a great question. Tell me a little bit about how you felt like you struggled with science.
I think definitely like with chemistry and things like that, it would go right over my head. Now, I did like zoology. That was more like I could get those concepts. But I definitely struggled with biology and then chemistry, just um, what would be the term? Like the equations that were involved or the different structures of things. Or even just learning the terms themselves, I struggled with that.
Right. And that makes sense to me, especially with all the memorization that you have to do. So
Mm-hmm.
basically what I wanted to do at the middle school level is really create a love of learning science. So
Mm,
very basic with the concepts that then you would lay a great foundation, hopefully for high school and
yeah.
college learning. So,
Mm,
for example, in the physics book, I don't include, like, we include the formulas, but I don't have a lot of working through math problem after math problem because I
mm-hmm.
don't feel like it's super necessary at that age. They're going to be able to
Yeah.
learn the concept and then apply it later.
That's great. So then do you do like experiments in the curriculum or like hands-on crafts or if some learners are more hands-on approach and it's easier for them to grasp things that way, do you have something for them as well?
I do. So the curriculum is two parts. It's the student reader, which is all of the material that the kids are reading through. And then a really important part is the lab manual. So that includes vocabulary,
Mm,
puzzles, answering questions, and then all of the application piece, which is all of the experiments. And we work through those step by step, following the steps of the scientific method so that the kids will then learn, like what
yeah,
they're doing at each point.
I love that. That's great. And then on a more personal level, how has the curriculum impacted you and your family?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, it's definitely given me something to do. It fills my days.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of thrive on the organization of science. And so I really have to be organized in what I'm doing too, if that.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But then also my kids are now having kids, so I'm seeing my grandkids use it. And
Mm, that's
that's been
awesome.
really exciting. I babysit them every Tuesday and I go over and take science experiments with me. And
Ah,
now
that's so
they're
fun.
hopefully loving science too.
That's great. That's really good. So then so how many children do you have? I think maybe, did you say four?
No, we have five.
Five. Okay, five.
Yep,
So then, did you said you homeschooled them the whole way through then?
we did. Yep, we kind of took it
Great.
year by year, like not know
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, we did end up homeschooling them all the way through.
Great. So what was your experience with that? Did you feel like you learned alongside of them? And did you um kind of feel inspired to create this science curriculum because of your experience as a homeschool mom?
I did. And my main thing all the way through, especially with having five kids and trying to juggle and balance all of it,
Yeah.
was like, what's the meat of what they need to learn? What
Yeah.
and what's the extra stuff? And if they can learn just that main just the main points really
Yeah.
without all the fluff and all the additional stuff, then they're going to be I'm kind of a minimalist, and maybe I'm not saying this the right way, but I wanted to be efficient in our time, and I wanted
Yeah.
to be efficient in the curriculum, if that makes sense.
Oh, that does make perfect sense. Yeah, I think so often and I'm not speaking to a certain curriculum at all,
Right,
but I think so often the young learner can get lost in the fluff. So I
right.
love that you simplify it. That's great. So you said it's fourth to eighth grade. Is that what you said?
Fourth through eighth grade. I do have parents all the time tell me that they do it with their younger kids
That's
too,
just what I was going
like
to
with
ask.
siblings. Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
easily adaptable. That lab
that's great.
manual, you can write in, you can draw in, you know what I mean? It
Mm.
just is really easy to adapt for different age levels.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. So then, on average, how many chapters does each curriculum or like subject have?
Yeah, so each one is a full year. It's
Great.
32 lessons. Um,
Wonderful.
and some people ask, like, what do I have to do first? Should I follow it in a certain order? And the answer is no. You can totally base it on what your kids are interested in, what
Hmm.
your state requirements are, things like that.
Yeah, that's great. So then, like, if a family maybe does more of a unit study style of learning, they can kind of pick and choose. That's great.
They can, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And I think too, adding that, what you said there about the state requirements, because that can be tricky. Some states require science, and then there's things underneath that involved with science that they also require. So that's great that you kind of explain that to parents and, put that out there. That's very important.
Definitely.
Why did you decide to homeschool?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that was multifaceted. So really,
Mm,
first and foremost, we really wanted to provide our kids with that foundation of Christianity and a biblical worldview. So that would
yeah,
probably be
sure.
first. And then second, all of our kids learned so differently. And so we
Mm,
wanted to be able to focus more on, like if our son was having trouble with math, focus on that.
yeah.
Where maybe our daughter spurted on ahead with reading and we could
Hmm.
let her do that with homeschooling. And then
Yeah.
lastly, since my husband was a police officer, he had all kinds of different shift work, and we still really wanted to emphasize the importance of like family dinners or, being
Mm,
together. And so
yeah.
we could do that as our family too.
That's great. I love that. Did you have certain curriculums that you used along the way that you really liked and that, helped your family find success?
Yeah, we did. And you probably don't want me, like, I won't name those curriculums that
Sure,
we
sure.
didn't use, but we
Yeah.
had a lot of trial and error all the way through. Like, does it work for this student? Does it? So when I was
Yeah,
putting something together, I wanted there to be choices. I wanted it to be simple and I wanted it to be something that worked with a lot of different learning styles.
that's great. I love that flexible attitude. I think that's really important, especially when you have already said your kids, each of them learn in a different way. I think that's really important and not putting them into a box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's great. And then we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but how did homeschooling impact you as a mom?
It's really, I thought that it was great. I loved being able to see all of our kids excel in different areas that they loved and
Mm,
that they were good at. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
liked being
Mm-hmm.
able to help them when they were struggling. And sometimes we had to outsource that. Do you know what I mean? Like get a
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
tutor or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I loved being able to see them succeed in the things that they loved.
Yeah, that's so important. I know my mom felt very similar. We did some outsourcing as well, different tutors and things. And I think, um, yeah, I think homeschooling just gives you like a really well-rounded childhood because you get taught from so many different avenues. Plus, you have the opportunity to be at home with your family during mealtime, like you
Yeah.
said, and
Yeah.
try different things if it's not working. So I think that's a great point. I love that you said that.
Right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And then why do you love, you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but why do you love teaching students?
Oh, I have always loved teaching students. And so science in particular, I feel like is a really fun thing to teach because
Mm,
it shows God's order and design. So
yeah.
for example, if there's no order and design, then like what would be the purpose of my life? But if there is
Yeah.
order and design, then I have a purpose
Hmm.
and I know he has a design and a plan for me. So I
Yeah.
love being able to link that together.
That's great. And then do you have resources? Because I'm really finding all this stuff you're talking about very interesting. So for someone who isn't homeschooling at this point, do you have like resources throughout your curriculum that like maybe a homeschool graduate could look into or something like that?
Now, tell me what you mean by resources, just so I can understand.
Like, I guess a better question, better way to phrase it would be like, could I still access the curriculum and, learn from it as an adult who would find this stuff interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find parents tell me that all the time. They're like, I'm just as interested in it as my student is,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they didn't get that foundation in physics or in chemistry
Yes.
or something like that. And like I remember, this is going to sound really dumb, but I struggled with math in middle school, and I remember
Me
teaching
too.
math to
Me
to
too.
one of our students and laying there at night and being like, "Oh my gosh, I think I understand the Pythagorean theorem now." Like I get the whole
I
thing.
love that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Oh,
and so I think parents will probably do that with science as well. They'll be like, "Oh,
yeah.
I get that. Like I understand. So,
Oh, that's great. And I think that's the one of the key points of homeschooling is that parents get to learn alongside their homeschooler
right.
and they're actually learning. Like it's not like you're just going over these things with your kids. You're learning things too as an adult. And I think that's so important.
And the more we learn about God and his design, I feel like the stronger our faith is. It gives us
Yes.
that, it just gives us that background and that foundation, and we can grow on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. And I think too, I'm seeing a lot of reports on how constant technology use that we have today can really impact our cognitive ability. So I love that you provide this resource, well, curriculum for families and, kids and parents can both use it and grow from it. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I agree. I'm
Yeah.
reading more and more about that. It's kind of scary.
It is scary, especially for
Mhm.
kids. I'm very concerned, what
Yes,
it's doing to their brains from such a young age.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
you give them an outlet to learn, and that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And then, how has your passion and love for science impacted your life overall?
Oh, goodness. Well, so I talk a little bit in I think almost every book that I write about how your worldview is like this pair of glasses that you put on and you're seeing it all through that lens. And
Mm,
so my love of science has, I mean, it's just like it's my worldview. Now I'm looking
yeah.
at every single thing through what God has done, what He's
Mm,
created, how He loves me. If He can pay attention to the strong punch of the mantis shrimp,
yeah.
then and like
Yeah.
focused in on that
Yeah.
detail, then he certainly
Mm-hmm.
loves me and has care for me and
Oh,
cares about how my life goes.
I love how you phrase that, has care for me. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, our God is very intentional. And I think we can so easily forget that. So then you provide this curriculum that points people back to that. And that is so important.
Yes, definitely.
I love that. And then we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but do you have any new products releasing? And then I know you had said you also are doing some conferences pretty soon. So if you would like to share about that, please do.
Yeah, so we just had chemistry come out, so I'm really excited about that. Um, we had chemistry come out, we have the lab manual come out. Oh, I should say too that the lab manuals are all a free download in the front of every student reader. We have
Oh,
them to
awesome.
purchase printed, but you can download them for free and print them out. So those are the two newest products. And then, like I said, Earth Science and Astronomy are in the editing phase. And then May is filled with homeschool conferences for us. My husband and I travel around and speak at different conferences.
That's great.
Not him, but me. He's like I said, my huge support person. He likes to
Oh.
call himself the chief logistics officer and carrier of all the heavy things.
That's awesome. I love
Right,
that.
right. So I'll do different workshops for families based on different science topics or even
Great.
like organizing your homeschool day topics.
Oh, awesome. And then kind of touching back to the curriculum because I thought of something while you were talking. Is it fully online or can it kind of be a mix of both like paper copy and then online or how does that work?
Yeah, so none of it is online.
Oh,
So
great.
when I say that you can access the lab manual through that, I just meant like you could print a copy.
Oh,
So we
sure,
really
sure.
want for science kids to be drawing and writing and doing things like that in a physical textbook.
Yeah,
There are
I
some
love that.
research products or projects that are done online where they're going to research something a little
Sure,
more, but that's it. It's not an
that's
online.
great. So then the research projects, so that's really interesting. I like that. So is that something that they like can kind of do as a unit study or does that kind of branch off of something else? How does that work?
Yeah, so every chapter throughout the lab manual has a research it section where they're going to be
Mm,
learning or researching just a little more about something that they've done.
oh, that's
So maybe
great.
it's a chapter on earthquakes and they're going to map out where the Earth's last few earthquakes are, or do you know what I mean?
Mm, yeah.
Where they're applying that.
That's great. I love that. And especially for kids who like to deep dive into things. I'm
Yeah.
definitely that way. So that's great. I love that you support that.
I was talking to a mom the other day and she said, for every single creation corner we come across, we always stop and like our whole family looks it up and looks to see what the
Oh,
animal looks like and watches videos about the animal. And
oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's great. I love that.
fun.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's the other thing too with homeschooling is it really unlocks a love for lifelong learning, which I can tell from the way you're talking about your curriculum that you support that and that the curriculum is based around that. So I think that's wonderful.
I do too. Because I mean, I'm learning stuff. I'll come out and I'll say to my husband, I'll be like, did you know this, this, and this about the sloth?
Ah, I love it. That's so great. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think it's I sound like a broken record, but I think it's great that to learn as adults. I think that's really
I do too.
important. And I think, especially as Christians, I think we should never stop learning and using the brain that God has given us.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So then, since you are a passionate teacher of science, why should children learn about the wonders of science?
Oh, I think we kind of covered this before, but
Hmm.
when you're learning about science, I mean, you're basically learning about how things work in the world around you.
Yeah.
So you're learning about the world, you're learning about the things in it, the earth that you walk on, the space that you're in, all of those things. And
Yeah.
then the more you learn about that, the more you learn about the creator, and
Mm,
it's just
yeah.
like a nice cycle to go through over
Yeah,
and
I
over.
was gonna say a full circle. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then this is kind of a side topic, but what is your favorite topic to research in science or, prep for a curriculum?
Yeah, I love biology. I thought that I really wouldn't like the research and the writing of astronomy.
Hmm.
I've loved that. So I love
Oh,
biology. I guess all of them. Once I really did a further
yeah.
deep dive into it, I really like all of them. Probably those two and earth science. But we haven't done forensics yet either, so that's
Yeah, so
fun
who
too.
knows? That's great. Oh, and then I think I think in today's world we can kind of get lost in the evolution aspect of science, and I think the creationist aspect is so important. So, what characteristics do you think are important for a good student of science to have?
Okay, so great question, especially in middle school, and something that you probably want to foster as a parent, right? Is the
Hmm.
curiosity
Mm,
and
mhm.
exploration. And then, like, this sounds kind of odd, but you have to, as a scientist, have a willingness to try and fail.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
that failure piece of it is kind of key because scientists do that all the time. And they don't even
sure.
look at it as failing. They just look at it as a different way to try something. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
Thomas Edison said, I think I've found like 10,000 ways not to do a
I
light
was just gonna say that before you did.
bulb.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
that I was reading or I can't remember what I was watching, but a lady was talking about how her dad would call she and her siblings in every week that he'd call them in and he'd go like, okay, what have you tried and failed? And she had to come up with something that
Oh,
she
wow.
tried and failed at. And it encouraged them to keep trying,
Yeah.
not just fall
Yes.
into this kind of like rut of
Yeah.
just moving along. So I think,
One, I think too that gives I think, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but like our society really has a fear-based attitude around failure. And it's
yes,
something like if you fail, you'll be punished. And I
right.
think it's so important to have a more flexible idea about failure. Like we can learn from it and move forward. And sometimes God can help us through it. So more often than not, He can.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's really, really important. And so then, also on a side note, sort of, how can parents introduce science to their children and kind of foster that love of science from a young age?
Well, we had in our own homeschooling, we had tons of science fails with our experiments where we'd try something and it wouldn't work, and then we'd have to retry it again. And so I think that in science that they can do it, but then generally overall, letting their kids know that it's okay to try something and fail.
Yeah.
That they're just learning what not to do.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
great. That's
yeah.
really great. Yeah, I think also can bond the family really well when you fail together and the parents demonstrate that it's not a horrible thing that just happened. It's just something that you move forward and learn from.
Right, right.
Yeah.
In the co-op that I would teach, it was actually really fun to kind of like rack up all the, oh, it's a science fail, and everybody would kind of laugh about it and experiment
Mm,
didn't go the right way or the way you thought that it would turn out.
yeah.
But then it gave us an opportunity to redo it or to try some things differently.
Yeah, that's great. And I think too, I went to co-op for many years and really liked it. That's where I feel like I really found myself in a weird way. Like I found my interests. I mean, I also found them at home, but co-op was really instrumental for me.
Mhm.
So as a teacher, what is that like seeing your student blossom in, science or whatever you were teaching?
Right. Oh, that was fantastic. I mean, because sometimes kids would come in and they'd be really unsure of themselves and they'd be really quiet. And then watching them grow and just be willing to try things or to be curious about things or
Mm,
even to ask questions where they first felt, inadequate asking questions.
yeah.
I felt like those were successes right there for
Mm.
even just the asking questions piece is a success.
Definitely. I love that. So then where can people find your curriculum? Where can they find you? And if you have any advice for homeschooling moms who want to teach science.
Okay, so you can find me at themysteryofscience.com. We're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest. If you sign up for the newsletter, we have a newsletter that you can sign up for on our website, and there are a lot of like freebie printables that you can use
Great.
for following the steps of the scientific method. Um, Gosh, my advice for moms, that's an interesting one because we've kind of talked about that, but I would just encourage you to look around you. Even if you're not following a science curriculum, you can always point, like even a conversation in the car, you can always point
Mm,
things back to, isn't that cool how God created that? Look at that. There are six
yeah.
legs on that insect. Isn't that neat that that's what makes an insect? Just
Mhm.
asking questions and kind of, pointing back to the creator.
That's wonderful. I love that. And just to wrap up, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I know I think listeners are really going to take a lot away from this, and we touched on so many important things, and everything you shared, I think, is so vital.
Good. I appreciate you having me. This has been really fun.